Hey guys, welcome to my channel where I talk about mechanical engineering and the things I do as a mechanical engineer, tools and tricks I use to do my job successfully. In this video, I'm going to talk about how I passed the Certified SOLIDWORKS Professional Mechanical Design Exam, or CWSP for short. I'm going to go over the exam structure. I think it's important to review that ahead of time. We're going to look at sort of the type of modeling that's going to be expected. And definitely, I spent a lot of time practicing that type of modeling. And then I'm going to go over some of the time-saving tips I use. That's going to include mouse gestures, sketch tools, keyboard shortcuts, and then global variables, that kind of thing. So let's look at the practice exam. Here I've got the link to the exam information pulled up, and I'll have this in the description. This is going to be the exam length, and then we'll see here the exam structure. So you're going to have a segment where you create a part from a drawing. That's going to be 70 minutes. That's going to be modeling. And you're going to want to model quickly. It's often called speed modeling here. And then segment 2, you're going to want to create configurations of a model. And for each of these segments, you're going to be checking mass properties to answer questions about the model you created. And then segment 3 is creating an assembly. I personally find that assembly creation is a little bit more straightforward and intuitive, whereas some of the modeling can be a little bit trickier. So I think it's more important to practice the modeling. So with that said, let's look at the practice exam. And again, this will be linked in the description, where I can show you kind of like what's expected for the modeling you do. You can see here you're given a drawing of a model, and you're going to want to build this from this drawing. We have dimensions, you have variables, some views. I think it's important to practice this because I find that it's very different than the modeling I do as a design engineer. Most of the modeling I do is, creating ideas from my head, trying to visualize things as I go. Whereas this, you have a fully defined part that you've got to create from a drawing. That's just a little bit different, and I think takes some practice. So yeah, now let's dive into some time-saving tips. And I just one thing I want to point out on these parts here, you'll be given a list of variables. They're given here. You'll see them up here as well. It's really useful to create global variables in your model to define all these. The next question is usually change variables, and then what's the next, what's the mass of the part? So you can see here, update the parameters, all these variables change. If you've set up global variables, that's a lot easier to do. You can just adjust them and then rebuild. So I'll pull up SOLIDWORKS and I'll show you kind of how I've done that. So here we've got SOLIDWORKS. I've got just a sketch of a random part open. So the variables will be here under equations. If you right-click equations and go manage equations, you can create those variables here. Just type them in, assign a value, click OK. And then when you're in your sketch, you can, so if I just create a quick line, I can say equals, and the global variables are here, A, boom. And now that line is equal to A, and if I change A to whatever I want, it automatically changes that. And so when I have that list of variables, I can just go into that table and quickly create it. So the other time-saving tip I want to talk about is mouse gestures, which you've already seen me use a little bit in the sketch. I'm going to right-click the mouse, and then if I move to the left while holding the right mouse button, I can create a line. If I move down, a rectangle, to the right, a circle, and up, smart dimension. So that's a lot easier for me than coming up here to our feature selection or our toolbars to find that line or circle. I can just start creating lines or circles or whatever geometry I need for my part. And I think just saving those few seconds really starts to add up when you're, creating 10 sketches with 30 lines per sketch. It just really starts to add up and save you a bunch of time. The last sort of time-saving tip that I use a lot is keyboard shortcuts. One of my favorites is the A key. So right now I'm creating a line, but say I want a tangent arc. Or I can just press A for arc, and I'm creating an arc. When I'm back to a line, I can press A again, another tangent arc. And this is so much quicker than trying to press escape to leave the line tool, come up here to create an arc. Oh, well, I want a tangent arc, and oh, here we go. That didn't land where I wanted it to. I think using the A key is just much quicker. The other keyboard shortcut I use a lot is Control B, which is rebuild. You can see here we have the rebuild sign on these equations. If I just press Control B, it's rebuilt. And that can be useful after editing your global variables or equations. Just a quick Control B, and it will rebuild your part. The last keyboard shortcut I've used a little bit. It's less robust in my opinion, just because you have to kind of get it just right. But say I'm creating a feature. I've set this to 5. And my mouse is out here, whatever I've selected this contour. I can press D and it brings the check mark right to your mouse, and you click OK. And it's just less back and forth with the mouse. That's useful sometimes if your mouse is out in this area, the design area, and you want to quickly move on to the next feature instead of going back to the green check mark. So those are my favorite shortcuts. I found those just few simple ones worked really well for me. I also found that, finding the small shortcuts and the things that really worked for me was better than trying to learn them all. So I learned a few that I felt will really optimize my workflow, and then just kind of got really good at using them. I think that's going to work better than trying to learn a lot of them, because I didn't want to be in the exam thinking, oh, what was that keyboard shortcut? Where I just had a few that I knew really quickly and could save me a lot of time. So that's what I use for time-saving tips. I think, learning ways that you can save time is going to be really helpful in passing an exam. So yeah, in this video we went over the exam structure. We talked about the modeling type, and I think it's really important to practice that. Then I went over my favorite time-saving tips. If you've made it this far, thanks for watching. Hopefully it was helpful, and you can get started practicing for getting your certification. Thanks for watching.